The UN Security Council is still working out the wording of a resolution in the ongoing Israel-Hamas war. Scott Hurst from CTV National News joins us live now with more on this story. Scott, good morning. The vote was originally scheduled for Monday, but was delayed again yesterday to allow more time for negotiations. What's the latest on this?
Good morning, Jen. 2 days later, still waiting for that vote from the UN Security Council on a draft resolution that would see an increase in humanitarian aid going into Gaza and some sort of pause, some sort of halt in the fighting. But that really is the sticking point the last several days. And over the last 10 weeks, the U.S. has been against a ceasefire as one of Israel's strongest allies, particularly right now since the war erupted on October 7th. And the U.S. has already vetoed UN Security Council resolutions multiple times. So behind the scenes, according to U.S. officials, they are still working with others to try to find some sort of common ground, some sort of wording that the U.S. could agree to and not use its veto again. And a lot of the sticking point has to do with the wording around a ceasefire or a pause in fighting, as the resolution would also see increased aid, humanitarian aid getting into Gaza, Jen.
And Scott, what are the concerns from the U.S. and Israel over the current proposal?
The current proposal has wording that the U.S. currently doesn't agree on in terms of a ceasefire, in terms of a pause in fighting. The U.S. and Israel have been against a ceasefire in these resolutions, saying a ceasefire or a long-term pause in the fighting would only benefit Hamas. It would allow the terrorist group to regroup. Over the past 10 weeks since this war erupted, Washington has said it does support pauses in the fighting to protect civilians and allow for the release of more hostages. Jen, as you remember, there was a 7-day pause in fighting that did allow more than 100 hostages to be released from Gaza. All of this is happening, and we're still waiting for that vote from the UN Security Council, as Hamas's top leader is in Cairo today for ongoing talks for a pause in the fighting, a temporary pause or more of a long-term pause. But the two sides are still quite far apart on talks for another pause in fighting that would be connected to a release of more hostages, Jen.
And this as the war is nearing the 3-month mark. CTV National News' Scott Hurst, thank you.